On October 10, 2023, Eden Hazard retired from professional football at the age of 32. Exactly 4 years prior, Real Madrid had acquired him for €150 million to serve as the primary focal point of their offense. He announced his departure to the public with a brief written statement, noting, "You must listen to yourself and say stop at the right time. I was able to realize my dream." Hazard arrived in Spain having led the Premier League in both chances created and completed dribbles over a 7-year span. However, by age 30, that production trend broke. He would only finish 6 full 90-minute matches over the next 4 seasons. Analysis of this decline often focuses on a perceived lack of discipline in his later years. A closer look at the data suggests we are looking at a clinical case study in the extreme biomechanics of the dribbling virtuoso. The methodology that allowed him to dominate elite defenders required him to invite physical contact to execute a successful turn. Every dribble relied on absorbing force from an opponent, a mechanic that ensured compounding structural trauma would accumulate throughout his career. We can trace the origins of those mechanics to the French-speaking municipality of Braine-le-Comte, Belgium. Hazard was the product of a household dedicated to professional athletics. His father operated as a semi-professional defensive midfielder, while his mother competed as a striker in the First Division. This dual genetic and tactical inheritance provided Eden with a hyper-specific education. From childhood, he received constant exposure to both the mechanics of offensive penetration and the spatial awareness required to break defensive lines. His proximity to the game was also literal. Hazard and his 3 brothers routinely snuck through a hole in a fence to practice on the local training pitch, which sat exactly 3 meters from their family home. Progressing through local clubs Royal Stade Brainois and AFC 2Bs, his technical capacity rapidly outpaced the curriculum. As one of his early youth coaches recalled, "He knew everything. I had nothing to teach him." Before he ever encountered the rigorous structure of a professional academy, Hazard's genetic baseline and immediate physical environment had already optimized him for elite tactical development. In 2005, Hazard transferred across the border to join the academy at Lille, where French scouts immediately recognized his raw, highly developed ball control. However, technical ability alone could not protect him in senior football. Hazard possessed a powerful frame, but he lacked the requisite physiological strength to withstand impacts from professional defenders. He was initially reluctant to engage in the necessary physical conditioning. This led to a formal intervention, where academy directors called his parents in to address his lack of physical work ethic. During the meeting, his mother, Corinne, turned to him and asked if the club's critique was true. According to Van Damme, Hazard's reply was disarmingly honest. He simply said, "Yes, it's true." He accepted the structural discipline required to build his physique. Once that physical baseline was established to support his technical talent, the statistical output followed. He rapidly evolved into the team's primary creative engine, becoming the first non-French player to win the UNFP Young Player of the Year award. By the 2010-11 season, he translated that individual dominance into collective silverware, anchoring Lille as they secured a domestic double with the Ligue 1 title and the Coupe de France. The 5 years spent at Lille provided the essential structural conditioning necessary to bridge the gap between youth brilliance and durable professional utility. That utility drew the attention of Europe's top clubs, culminating in a transfer to Chelsea in June 2012 for €40 million. In England, his unique tactical archetype reached its apex. Unlike traditional wingers who relied on straight-line speed, Hazard operated through intricate footwork, superior balance, and an instinctive use of his body to shield the ball from larger, aggressive defenders. His execution of this role was consistent enough for his manager, José Mourinho, to publicly assess him as the best young player in the world. Soon after, his output invited comparisons to his own childhood idol, Zinedine Zidane, placing him among the elite tier of global football. This scatterplot compares the offensive production of Premier League players between 2012 and 2019. Over that 7-year span, Hazard created 595 chances, placing him far ahead of his closest peers. When we shift the axes to look at completed dribbles, the scale of his ball progression becomes even more pronounced. He registered 909 successful dribbles, absorbing thousands of physical impacts to maintain possession and drive the team forward. He was highly protective of this specific method of play. When manager Antonio Conte attempted to deploy him in a false nine position against Manchester City, Hazard openly expressed his frustration, noting that he only touched the ball 3 times during the defeat. Operating in his preferred spaces, he generated a massive accumulation of domestic hardware, securing 2 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, and a League Cup. He mirrored that success in Europe, winning 2 Europa League titles. In his final appearance, he delivered a brace in the 2019 final against Arsenal. The Chelsea system extracted his biomechanical peak. This resulted in the highest creative metrics in the league, while placing a continuous, unseen load on his lower body. Concurrently, Hazard was carrying a massive international volume, eventually amassing 126 caps and 33 goals for the Belgium national team. This line graph tracks the FIFA men's rankings. Under Hazard's captaincy, Belgium achieved a record-breaking continuous reign at the number 1 spot, maintaining that position longer than any European team in history. During their 2018 World Cup campaign, Hazard credited the tactical clarity to coach Roberto Martinez. He noted that Martinez talks a lot with his players, praising his communication skills as his best quality. The physical and psychological intensity of that tournament was severe. Hazard described their comeback from a 2-0 deficit to win 3-2 against Japan as an emotional roller coaster. Despite their high ranking, Hazard maintained a clinical view of the team's output. When asked about their label as the Golden Generation, he rejected the premise, stating, "No, I think we'll deserve it when we win something. We still haven't won anything." His international tenure proved his capacity for tactical leadership on the world stage, but those deep tournament runs added severe mileage to a physical chassis already heavily taxed by his club duties. In the summer of 2019, Real Madrid paid €150 million to acquire Hazard, positioning him as the essential tactical replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo. The trajectory of that investment was altered by a single kinetic event on November 26, 2019, during a Champions League group stage match against Paris Saint-Germain. Hazard sustained a reckless challenge from PSG defender Thomas Meunier. The mechanical strike ruptured his right ankle. Hazard was clear about his assessment. Reflecting on the tackle, he stated, "I was super well then. Thomas Meunier injures me. I think he did it on purpose. He wanted to hurt me." The trauma from the tackle cascaded through his lower body. The impact damaged a titanium plate that had been surgically fitted to his ankle following a previous fracture at Chelsea in 2017. The hardware had to be refitted. This procedure altered his kinematic alignment, meaning the mechanical angles of his stride were permanently changed. That shift sparked a chain reaction, resulting in 22 overlapping muscular issues, primarily affecting his hamstrings and fibula, as his body attempted to overcompensate. This Gantt chart maps his Madrid medical timeline. Red markers indicate major injuries, exposing a severe 206-day void of inaction. His time in Madrid resulted in 76 appearances and 7 goals. Across 4 years, he completed a full 90-minute match exactly 6 times. The Madrid era ended as a localized systemic collapse, sparked by a single physical impact that disrupted the structural integrity Hazard had relied on since his early years in Belgium. The final retirement decision reflected a clinical acceptance of biological data. The machine could no longer process the required tactical load. His legacy is inseparable from his methodology. The trait that made him a world-class anomaly, welcoming heavy contact to execute a pivoting dribble, was the exact mechanism that ensured his biological limits would be reached faster than his peers. "I have played and had fun on many pitches around the world," he noted in his final statement. Eden Hazard exits the game as the ultimate modern playmaker, an athlete whose peak statistical output required a physical sacrifice that ultimately forced him to say stop at the exact right time.